for you right now. Start Doombots, go blow.
Well, hello there, my fellow Doombots and Bavarian citizens, and welcome to episode 2 of Journey to Doomsday, where, in anticipation to the new Avengers Doomsday movie, we ramble, recap, and rank the MCU. Today's episode, we're talking about The Incredible Hulk. Please like, comment, and doomscribe, or be doomed. Well, let's just ramble about it first. So Iron Man came out in April of 2008, and The Incredible Hulk came out 2 months later in June. And it's actually pretty crazy that the month after it, The Dark Knight came out. 2008 was a pretty killer year for comic book movies. Last episode already talked about how Marvel went broke and had to sell all of their movie rights, and that's the reason why Hulk is actually owned by Universal. So Marvel Studios is not allowed to release their own individual Hulk movies. That's why he always shows up in team-ups and that kind of stuff. And it is also infamous that Edwart Norton got replaced by Mark Ruffalo to star as the Hulk in the Avengers. Louis Leterrier also talked about this a little bit. This is after the movie came out. He said, "When people are asking me who's better of the Bruce Banners, both are great, but I actually wanted to cast Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, and Marvel was like, no, you should get Edward Norton because he's more famous." So it's actually kind of interesting that the director of The Incredible Hulk actually wanted to cast Mark Ruffalo in the main role of Bruce Banner, but it was actually Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios that pushed for Edward Norton. But yeah, infamously, Kevin Feige would have kind of a falling out with Edward Norton because of his obsessive nature and all of the control he wants over the movies. He said the following: "Our decision is definitely not based on monetary factors, but instead rooted in the need for an actor who embodies the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members." I don't know if it's really about the interaction between Edward Norton and other actors, but more the interaction between Edward Norton and the studio, because there was a lot of push and pull, because Norton had a very specific vision for The Incredible Hulk. But I think it's actually kind of funny that Kevin Feige pulled a Tony Stark quote on here. "Apparently I'm not volatile, self-obsessed, and don't play well with others." I think it's pretty funny that we got that quoted by Kevin Feige while talking about Edward Norton. Edward Norton had this to say about his work with Marvel. He said, "I laid out a 2-film thing, the origin and then the idea of Hulk as the conscious dreamer, the guy who can handle the trip. And they were like, that's what we want." As it turned out, that wasn't what they wanted, because he was going more for a Dark Knight vibe, more of a darker tone for the Hulk movies. And Kevin Feige just wanted the Hulk to be a background funk character in Avengers movies, because after The Incredible Hulk, it was always kind of the Hulk has never been as savage as he has been in that movie. I cannot really blame Edward Norton for trying to pull the creativity towards him, because yeah, it has been quoted once again that the same as with Iron Man, this movie had no script, man. Jeff Bridges famously also said that it felt like he was working on a $1 million student film while working on Iron Man. And Louis Leterrier also said that while working on this Incredible Hulk movie, that when he started, they said you have 1 year to finish it, and they didn't have a freaking script. But once again, it worked, because both these movies, Iron Man and Incredible Hulk, even though they didn't have a script, I think they're both very cohesive and good movies. I freaking love this movie. I love The Incredible Hulk. This is also Louis Leterrier talking about the original vision of the movie, but also the start of the movie was Bruce Banner walking to the edge of the world to commit suicide. Then the Hulk saves him, and the studio said there's no freaking way we are starting this movie with a guy putting a gun into his mouth. This was actually also quoted by Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo in the Avengers movies, when he said, "I tried to put a bullet in my head and the big green guy spit it out." This has actually been made canon inside of the MCU, and this is actually a deleted scene that you can find on the DVD of The Incredible Hulk, which I have ordered after having to rent this freaking movie because it wasn't on Disney Plus for some reason. I guess the streaming rights are towards some... I hate freaking streaming. That's why I got a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays behind me, because I know one day Disney's gonna F me in the ass and it's just gonna be like, if you want these movies, you gotta pay like 500 bazillion bucks, and that's why I want to have physical copies of all this stuff. Also, there was some tension between the director Louis Leterrier and William Hurt in the movie, even about the freaking mustache, because he said that William Hurt didn't want the mustache to be so big. So they literally had fights over that. I thought that was pretty crazy. But overall, I do think that it wasn't a nightmare set. It was stressful. It was you had to perform on a high level to get this movie done. I didn't even notice, but Leterrier has a bunch of movies that I've already watched. I think I've watched every single one of these movies. I watched the first Now You See Me movie. It was fine. It wasn't amazing. I actually grew up with that Clash of the Titans movie. I thought it was pretty epic when I was a little Doombot. The Brothers Grimsby, I watched it in the theater. That was funny. It was stupid funny, but it was still funny. Like Sacha Baron Cohen playing a goofy drunk with a spy brother. He directed the first 2 Transporter movies, which are freaking epic. And in my opinion, he made the best Fast and Furious movie, which is Fast X, because that movie is just total insanity. I just love Jason Momoa walking around in yoga pants. It's just so much fun. Another quote from Leterrier about the vision of the movie and the setups they were putting out. The Red Hawk, the leader, Emil Blonsky, we knew that they really could be arborescences created off the main movie. We never dreamt of an MCU, but knew that we could do our own little extension of the movie. They were thinking about all of the little lines that they were setting up for these future movies. And of course we got Red Hawk, but then William Hurt sadly passed away and got replaced by Harrison Ford. Emil Blonsky is of course still there. And yeah, the leader was also in Captain America 4 Brave New World. And yeah, the freaking cast of this movie was awesome. I loved William Hurt. You got Liv Tyler, Tim Blake Nelson, and Emil Blonsky, I forget, Tim Roth. Tim Roth was also great in this movie. I think that Tim Roth actually puts in my favorite performance of this film. I think that his character is pretty freaking cool. And also Jon Campea plays a soldier, allegedly. I think that is him. But yeah, despite this amazing stacked cast, the movie underperformed at the box office, only taking away 264 million worldwide on a budget of 150. So that means that it hardly broke even. And also Iron Man that came out like 2 months before it made like twice as much. This actually really killed Edward Norton still being the Hulk. So Feige made the decision to choose somebody that was more of a team player in his opinion, and he chose for Mark Ruffalo. As far as I know, there's no real bad feelings or whatever, and I think that Mark Ruffalo does an okay job in the role. I think that Mark Ruffalo is a good actor, but I do think that I really missed the intensity that was in this first Incredible Hulk movie. But that's sadly just more about how the MCU has handled the Hulk. Like, they've handled him very poorly, but that's a subject for another video. Let's just recap this movie that I freaking love, because it features one of my favorite MCU fights, you know, the Incredible Hulk versus Abomination at the end. Of course, spoiler alert. Maybe I missed something, maybe not. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed anything or whatever. But yeah, the movie starts out with a pretty cool montage that literally shows you the entire origin of Bruce Banner and him turning into the Hulk because he wanted to test some gamma radiation stuff on himself, which turned him into a big green goober. And yeah, if you see these 2 pictures of what the Hulk did to Betty Ross and Thunderbolt Ross, you can tell why Thunderbolt Ross would hate the Hulk and would want to kill him. Yeah, these 2 pictures were pretty freaking insane. I really like this montage. You see that the army is hunting down the Hulk, and you don't really see what he really looks like yet. I think that this is a very cool way to open the movie, and I think it would be dope if other superhero movies would also start with something like this. You know, a short introduction, you know, it is Sam Raimi style, that you know what happened in these previous movies. But then it cuts to
5 years later.
In the favelas in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, you have Bruce Banner watching Portuguese Sesame Street to learn the language. He has a little doggy. Oh, I love a little doggy. And Hickson Gracie is teaching him breathing exercises. And this dude, Hickson Gracie, he's a bad man. He's a bad man. Some people have said that he was the baddest of all the Gracies. He had the technique and he had the physical build, and he was also known for his breathing techniques. If you don't know who the Gracies are, if you know about UFC, they were like the original UFC champions. They used Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to own everybody. Now, of course, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is still used, but not as you have to know how to use it, you know. Back then it was revolutionary what the Gracies did to it. So I think it's pretty dope that we get to see Rickson Gracie in this film teaching Bruce Banner these breathing exercises so that he knows how to control his emotions. I also love the part where he just straight up smacks Edward Norton in the face. It looked like he really did it, so yeah. You also see Bruce Banner's conversation with a dude called Mr. Blue, and they're talking about his blood. And that is, of course, Tim Blake Nelson playing Samuel Stern. You'll see that later. They're trying to figure out cures for the Hulk disease, and Bruce Banner is constantly sending over blood to Samuel Stearns. To make his money, Bruce Banner works in a soda pop factory, and he meets this very beautiful Portuguese model that works in this factory, who is bothered by these local little goofy goober goons. And yeah, so Bruce Banner confronts them, and then the big boss tells them, "Hey, get out of here, you goofballs, and you crazy smart gringo scientist, help me fix this drink thing. I don't know, what do you call this? The thing that makes the drinks go, like in the factory, you know." And he fixes it, but then a little bit of his blood gets into one of these bottles, and it gets shipped off because apparently he didn't see this big blood in here. And Stanley drinks it, and I think even William Hurt's character, Thunderbolt Ross, says that he died of gamma poisoning. So if I'm not mistaken, Stan Lee's grandpa that he's playing in this movie died of gamma poisoning, right? That's pretty crazy. Bingo Dossier poster advertising the green soda that can be seen behind Scott in Ant-Man. For those who don't remember, it's a soda pop Bruce Banner was bottling in The Incredible Hulk. So that was a fun little reference. We get the introduction of Emil Blonsky, like the biggest badass in the film. He's a veteran who has seen all types of combat. Thunderbolt Ross has hired to track down, bring in Bruce Banner, and actually just bring in the Hulk. Yeah, I do think that his journey in this film is pretty cool, and I like where it ends up. Because of the gamma radiation that killed Stan Lee's character, you get to see, oh man, no, my poster. Wait, man, my poster was messed up the whole time. You couldn't see Snorlax. Well, the whole army is chasing Bruce Banner through the favelas, and I really loved this chase scene. It was just very intense. It felt a little bit like the Bourne Identity. I thought it was very well done. He also gets chased because he bumps into the goofy goobers. They call him Gringo the whole time. They follow him to the bottle factory and they try to beat him up. I think he transforms because he gets hit in the stomach, or because like a smoke bomb goes off, but whatever. He goes full Hulk. He goes full green goober, get out of my swamp Shrek mode, you know. And I loved how scary the Hulk was in this scene, that they were shooting bullets and tranquilizers at him and nothing helped. In the darkness you couldn't really see the Hulk, but he was very terrifying. I also love the part where he says, "It threw a forklift truck like it was a softball." That was such a... I love that line. I don't know, it always sticks out to me. This gives Emil Blonsky the go-ahead to use the super soldier serum because he's scared of how powerful the Hulk is. And it starts his obsession with trying to become stronger and stronger, which eventually leads to him getting his ass kicked and then taking his second dose of this stuff and then turning uglier and uglier, and then in the end, of course, turning into the Abomination. We'll get to that awesome fight in a little bit. Oh, the Hulk is just so badass. Oh man, I love the Hulk's look in this movie. Even though it doesn't really make sense that the Hulk has like a Beatles bowl cut and Edward Norton's character has like a little bit of shorter hair. They're doing this notebook scene on the bridge when he comes back to the USA. I love this scene. This is just out of nowhere, out of left field. We're getting like the Notebook on the bridge. I found this like kind of funny. Speaking of beautiful people you would like to kiss, Lou Ferrigno makes a cameo, the original Hulk, here when Bruce Banner goes full "It's pizza time." I love just seeing Edward Norton biking around with his pizza delivery bike. I thought it was really funny. I love the chase scene where all of the army is chasing Bruce Banner down the campus. Oh yeah, this scene is so dope. I love this transformation scene. I love that when the Hulk transforms, it's almost like a freaking werewolf. It is just freaking brutal. Oh yeah, and then he jumps out and he goes crazy. It is just such a good freaking scene. I cannot get enough of this scene. It's so good. And then you get the sound cannons. Oh, it is just such a badass scene. I love how brutal this version of the Hulk is. And it's just great. I just cannot sing. This fight scene is so awesome. Oh man, he's just terrifying. He can just murder people with like one punch. He's just so powerful. It's like a monster. And then of course you get the kick. He kicks Emu Blonsky into a tree. Oh, whoa, that was crazy. And then he is all bloodied up and all that stuff. Then the chopper tries to shoot down the Hulk, but Betty Ross is in the way, so Hulk has to protect her. He saves her from like the burning wreckage. Yeah, then they have the scene where they're in a cave and then they go hide out and all of this stuff. Emo Blonsky gets a second dose of super soldier serum. Like, I think this is like discount experimental copy of what Steve Rogers got. And I think it's pretty crazy that they're already talking about super soldier serum before the Captain America movie came out. I think that's actually pretty cool, you know, that they already had an idea. We're gonna first do Iron Man, then Hulk, then we're doing Captain America, I think. I don't know what the movie is that comes out after this. I am excited to check out whatever movie it is, because these first couple movies, what I really like about them is that all of the directors that are working on them, they still got a little bit of their own vision. This first Incredible Hulk movie feels very different to Iron Man, feels very different to Captain America, and Thor feels also very different to Hulk. So all of these movies are very different, and I like that. I like the variety, because variety is the spice of life. Samuel Stearns reveals that he has been doing a bunch of crazy stuff with Bruce Banner's blood. I thought it was also cool that he is not just a good guy trying to help him, but he has ulterior motives. I thought it was good. You got the scene of just trying to cure Bruce Banner of his Hulk disease. It is a scary transformation. It's a transformation where his bones are like shifting and stuff. It is intense, and I think that Edward Norton is really acting the shit out of these scenes. Oh yeah, I loved also that the weight of the chair couldn't handle the weight, and it's like almost breaking. It's so well done. Tim Blake Nelson is a great choice for the leader, and I also think that it was pretty awesome that later we also got him back. Emil Blonsky confronts Bruce Banner because he wants to fight the Hulk, only to realize that Bruce Banner cured himself, which actually wasn't really the case, because when he's in custody with Thunderbolt Ross, you find out he only really suppressed the Hulk, and not even that much, you know. Emil Blonsky forces Samuel Stearns to give him Hulk's blood so he can turn into the Abomination, which is a little bit different than in the comics. In the comics, he gets hit with a gamma ray gun or whatever Bruce Banner wanted to use to cure himself of the Hulk. So maybe, yeah, it is actually kind of comic accurate, but it is spiced it up a little bit. I like how they do it here. And yeah, then of course he turns to this crazy Abomination. I love how Abomination looks in this. He looks great. I think that all of these he looks like an Abomination. The Abomination in the comics looks like a lizard, but this looks like a freaking Frankenstein ugly monster. You of course get Tim Blake Nelson. Samuel Stern gets some Hulk blood in his head, and then of course he turns into the leader, which we'll see later in Captain America, Brave Bird. And yeah, I don't know, I wish they would have gone with that original design with the concept art, where he just has the big head and the hair and the goatee. It's because his head looks smaller than here. Like, his head looked like it was gonna be bigger than that. I think that the leader should have like a big melon head, you know, like that one Jedi that has a penis head. A little bit of that type of stuff, you know. I think it's also pretty crazy that Captain America 4 Brave New World is a sequel to The Incredible Hulk like 15 years later. How many years later is it? The Incredible Hulk came out in 2008. That's 17 years later. That's freaking crazy. I still love it because I love The Incredible Hulk. It's one of my favorite MCU movies, and every time I watch it I find something new in it. Yeah, isn't it also kind of weird that Bruce Banner, even though it was a different Bruce Banner, or it is the same Bruce Banner, these are villains of Bruce Banner, so it's kind of weird that Bruce Banner didn't show up in Brave New World. But yeah, whatever. I thought it was a pretty dope, solid movie. I thought that this movie is pretty dope. I loved the fight scene at the end where Red Hulk almost squishes Sam Wilson's head. I thought it was dope. I'm going off on a tangent. Let's talk about Abomination and how freaking awesome he is. While in captivity, Bruce Banner and Betty Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, they see that the Abomination is going crazy, running around just murdering people. It is just insane what he's doing. Bruce Banner decides to go full 90s music video and jump out of an airplane without a parachute. They do one more notebook kiss and then he falls to his death. And I love this scene where he's like, oh shit, I hope I turned into the Hulk. He's like, I hope I didn't mess this up. Yeah, lucky for him, he is still Hulk. He gets out of the crater. And I love that scene. The fight scene between Abomination and Hulk has to be one of my favorite MCU fight scenes of all time, because it's just two big green goobers punching the crap out of each other. That's what I love, man. It's exactly like this. It just goes on like that. And it feels like an eternity, but I freaking love it. Hulk comes out of a crater, and him and Abomination start running at each other just to punch each other midair. You think that Hulk gets the upper hand, but then Abomination kicks him through a building. Oh, man, the cop car that he turns into boxing gloves is just so freaking awesome. That's a toy I need to have. Oh, it is just so sick. I love this fight scene. I don't know what fight scene in the MCU is actually better than this. Just two green Goliaths, two big monsters just fighting each other. That's stuff what I like to see when I'm watching a movie, you know. It's more satisfying than, I don't know, like the Iron Man battle with Ironmonger. I think that this was doper, in my opinion. Also, I love how they use the surroundings. It just looks pretty dope. Also, the part where Abomination stabs him in the chest with his elbow, and then he rips out his elbow bone and stabs him in the heart with it. It's just gnarly, dude. Every time I watch that fight scene, I'm like, damn, these are two monsters fighting each other. This is not a superhero versus a supervillain. This is just two monsters. It's brutal. Oh yeah, we got the freaking Hulk clap at the end. I think that only Mark Ruffalo only did the Hulk clap in the She-Hulk series, but I have to rewatch that. But damn, this Hulk clap was so sick and was also earned. He goes like full Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and he yells at the top of his lungs after defeating the Abomination. After that, he just goes into the mountains. It says like 69 days since turning into the Hulk, and then his eyes turn green. You're like, ooh, can't wait for the sequel. But then you find out it's a different Hulk, baby. You did get this post-credit scene, which is actually not a post-credit scene because the scene takes place before the credits, where you got Tony Stark showing up to the bar where Thunderbolt Ross is drinking himself loosey-goosey because he's so upset about the Hulk getting away, I guess, or just upset with his life. The point of this, which I think is kind of insane, is that Tony Stark was supposedly there to convince Thunderbolt Ross to release the Abomination out of his custody so that the Abomination could join the Avengers. Like, what? Are you sure that this is a face you want on a Wheaties box? I don't really think that is a good idea. But then in a short video, like it's called The Consultant, Mr. Hydra and Coulson here. And the reason why Coulson actually sends Tony Stark is because he knows that Tony Stark and Thunderbolt Ross will probably get shit wasted and then get into a fight, I guess. And in a roundabout way, by sending Tony Stark, he would know that they would not get the Abomination on the Avengers. So yeah, speaking of Abomination, I do have to say that I do prefer the original design of Abomination. I mean, like the original MCU design. The comic design is cool and all, but I think that the MCU design is the design that I like more because it sounds more, it's more like an Abomination, you know? Like the other design looks more like a big lizard or like a gecko, you know? It looks like the gecko. But the other Abomination looks like an abomination. Looks like a dude who took way too many steroids and growth hormones, and he turns into this big monster of a dude, you know? No ears, bones sticking out. I love this design. And I think it's pretty dope. Yeah, in my opinion, I would have liked it if the MCU would have kept the original MCU design. I do have to say that I love the toys for this. Like I got some of these toys at least. I got this one. I really like this action figure of the Abomination. It's actually one of my favorite action figures. I just love the way it feels, the way it moves, and love all the bones and the little painting details on it. Real nice. And yeah, I would recommend you picking it up because you can just get these real cheap. Yeah, the action figures for this movie were pretty sick. I just love Hulk action figures. I love action figures that are a little bit meaty, you know? I love buff boys. Oh yeah, my biggest video with 26k views is actually my review of this little green goober, so go check that out if you haven't yet. But okay, it's time to rank this movie in our journey to Doomsday. And yeah, first of all, I want to say that I think this movie's doomtastic. I would give 5 out of 5 dooms, maybe 4.5 dooms or whatever. But nah, man, I love this movie. I think this movie is pretty freaking sick. Like the villain, I like the supporting cast, I like the whole cast. I actually didn't know I liked the director as much as I did because I forgot who the director was. But yeah, I would most definitely recommend you go check out this movie. I think this is a pretty sick movie. On my road to Doomsday, what would my ranking is, yeah, I would rank it just below Iron Man. I do think that Iron Man is just a better overall movie. That's mainly also because of the character of Tony Stark. It's just so well written and so well performed, because the performance of Edward Norton in this movie feels very subdued, you know. But it is actually kind of funny to see like total different experiences, because the experience of Bruce Banner is like a broke dude on the run, and the one of Tony Stark is this rich billionaire who, of course, also has his own problems in the film. But yeah, I would rank number 1 Iron Man, and then right below it the Incredible Hulk. We'll see next week if the Incredible Hulk is still going to be number 2. Then I also added a villain ranking, and I do have to say that even though I love the Abomination, and I like how he transforms from Emil Blonsky to Abomination, and it's a gradual turn. I really like that about the character. I do have to say that I love how Obadiah Stane is like a theatrical villain, and it also really helps that he's played by Jeff Bridges. But it just really feels like a very powerful villain of Obadiah Stane, even though it makes more sense for Emil Blonsky to just go full crazy monster mode, and not really for Obadiah Stane to just start killing civilians. I do have to say that the overall performance, like the part where Obadiah Stane like takes the robot heart out of Tony Stark, it's just very evil stuff. With Emil Blonsky, he's not really a villain, he's more like competitive, and then he gets roid rage. You know? But not to take anything away from Emil Blonsky, because like I said, I freaking love the Abomination and I love his design. We'll see how. I think he might just be a top 10 MCU villain for me. Nah, probably not. But he's at least above like top 15. I don't know. We're just gonna go movie by movie, and this list is just gonna be made like that. So we'll find out together. Okay, yeah, I think this is the end of the video. I just want to ask you please to like, comment, and doomscribe, and that's it for me. I think next week we are going to be talking about, what are we even going to be talking about? Let me just look up what's the next MCU movie in release dates. Let's check out the next movie I am gonna be talking about. Will be Iron Man 2. Okay, that's nice. Next movie I'm gonna be talking about is Iron Man 2. Look forward next week to my video of Iron Man 2. Well, I thought that Thor came out before Iron Man 2. I guess not. That's pretty crazy that the very first that Iron Man had, like, these two movies are like 2 years apart. It's pretty crazy. Well, I'm gonna be talking about Iron Man 2 soon. Doom it out and have yourself a happy Doomsday.